Hello, everybody. But I can manage myself now. Yes, very good. Good. So I think we are ready to begin now. Hello, I see a lot of names here, yeah, and I must have taught some of you at some point of time and met some of you at some point of time. Some of you are probably very new today. I just want to say a very big hello to everyone and wish you all a very happy new year. We are in the beginning of 2016, and this year, in the beginning of this year, let's say, we have made a resolution, and that resolution is to start teaching all our work about the animals to all of you like this. So, what I was telling you was that we have a resolution. You can hear me now, yes. So we will try to bring you the animal remedies. Yeah, we will try to explain to you and bring forth all the work that we have been doing with animal remedies and how to find cases of animal remedies in our practice, specifically the Indian practice. Yeah, this is this is what we really want to bring forth and explain, because we see that there are a lot of animal cases within our Indian situations, our Indian families, and they simply go unnoticed. Yeah. So slowly, step by step, we will build up and we will explain you things that go from one point to the other. By the end of this webinar series, or as there is no end to learning and to growing, but as we go from one step to the other, you will be able to find more and more animal cases in your practice. Now, just before I go, and I'm going to start with cases which have very long follow-ups of 8 years, 6 years, 5 years, yeah, 12 years. The reason is, then we know that this is clinically well proved. You will get all of it. I was starting with today's case. And in today's case, I said that it's a case of a man who was suffering from severe tonsillitis and laryngitis for several years. He's a man who came to us almost 12, 13 years ago. Okay? And he's somebody who came to us that, and then he followed up with us for almost about 8 to 9 years. So we have a very long follow-up. With his tonsillitis, he had very severe pain. Okay? And the pain would be shifting from the left to the right, from the right to the left. There was needle-like, splinter-like pains. He would lose his voice completely. He was a very handsome looking man, but he was so dull and ragged and so tired from his complaint, because almost every 15 to 20 days he was falling sick with this kind of tonsillitis or laryngitis. He went to an ENT specialist and all, who explained to him that we need to do a lot of speech therapy and we need to give a lot of voice rest because you keep coming up with these laryngitis attacks. They all told him that these are stress-related attacks. Every 15 days he was on a course of antibiotic, and then he would have to give voice rest. Some of his very interesting complaints were that he would start stammering sometimes when he was on stage. He was a stage artist, yeah, and he did small plays, theater. He was a theater artist. He did plays, and he would often start stammering when he had long sentences, or if he had a big long dialogue to deliver. And he had such severe hoarseness that half of the time he could not deliver the dialogues. Can you imagine a theater personality having laryngitis and throat complaints? And, when he was in the clinic also, he would get up, he would shift a little bit, he would walk a little and sit down, and his voice would clear. So I asked him, what is this? And he said, doctor, this is very funny that if I exert my voice or if I have too many rehearsals, then I'm sure to land up with laryngitis and, throat pain. But at the same time, my voice is very hoarse. And if I move a little bit, if I get up, if I sit down, if I walk, if I go out for a walk, then my voice starts to get better. So I have realized that some kind of movement helps my voice. And I thought this is very peculiar. So these were some of the main complaints. And he said, doctor, please do something. I have done Ayurveda. I have been to so many, doctors and so many specialists. And I'm just tired of these complaints of mine. Now, once I had this chief complaint and once I had all of this, I went a little bit into the personality of this man. And he told me, he said, doctor, I said, tell me a little bit about yourself. Tell me a little bit why, about this hoarseness of the voice and tell me how it affects you. And he says, doctor, how can it not affect me? For a man who's a theater personality, if he doesn't have his voice, he doesn't have his life. I am a man without a voice. I'm a man without a soul. And I thought, what must be going on in this person's mind or in his pattern, in his deep pattern, to have exactly the problem which puts him in the worst situation in his day-to-day life. I said, tell me a little bit about this, that you lose your voice and you lose your soul. And he says, doctor, I come from a family of theater personalities. And he's somebody who's very famous, and he comes from a very famous family who have a lineage of theater personalities. And he says, my father was a great actor and director, and he still is, and my elder brother is, and my sister is. And it was just expected that I would fall in the same line. And he said, from my childhood, my elder brother, my sister, they are much, much older than I am. And so when I was this little boy, they were much older and they would, go away, and father would always do a lot of things with my elder siblings and I would be left alone at home. And I always thought, I have to grow up and I have to become a theater personality and I have to get into that ring, doctor. And I said, ring? And he said, I had to get into that group, of my father and my brother and my sister and, and I had to just be part of that because, that name, and then he gave me the name of that family and he says, that name is, that name is so important in the theater world. And I just had to follow into that league. And, this is so depressing that I don't have the voice. As he was speaking to me, he wasn't stammering at all. And I was surprised that he said that he stammers when he gives his dialogues. And he says, doctor, the stammering comes when I am on stage. And it comes when I have the stress of delivering a long dialogue in a very short period of time. That's when it comes. And he says, even if my character, doctor, does not have to move, I make it a point to tell my director, let my character sit up, sit down, walk a little bit on stage, because if I'm moving, then my hoarseness is better. And he says, doctor, at the moment, it is only because of my family name and because of my brother and sister and everybody that I'm still getting some roles in theater. Very soon, nobody is going to take me because I've lost, I'm hammering. Now, this looks very much like a simple argentum nitricum or argentum metallicum case. Yeah, you have stammering, you have stage fright, you have anticipatory anxiety. Is the sound okay? or has gone? Because I can see here that there is a good sound. It is. Okay. So, sometimes if your sound is going, it could be because of the internet in your area. So please log in and come back again. In any case, you will get the whole recording, so you won't miss anything. Yeah. Now we come back. So as he was telling me all this, I asked him, I said, why is it so important for you to be this theater personality? Yeah, I was telling you it looks like Argentum nitricum. But for Argentum nitricum, he must be a performer. Yes, we know that Argentum nitricum or Argentum in Materia Medica has clergyman's sore throat, has exertion of voice, speaker's hoarseness. Yeah. So in a way, it looks very similar on the outside. But I need to know, is he also a performer like his father, his brother, or whatever, as he says? And I said, tell me a little bit that you want to be a theater personality. What do you like about being a theater personality? Now, if he was a true performer, I would expect him to say, oh, doctor, it's so wonderful to be on stage. It's so wonderful to deliver your dialogues. It's so great to get the appreciation of the crowd, the applause, blah, blah, blah. You know what he told me? I was very shocked when I heard his story. He said to me, he looked at me and he said, doctor, I never wanted to be a theater personality. And I said, tell me about that. Tell me that you didn't want to be a theater personality. Now, what I'm doing is I'm trying to understand every bit of his personality through his story. Yeah. And I'm trying to build the portrait of this person. I'm trying to build the deep pattern or the focus of this person's life. Because that focus has to be part of the remedy. And today I give personality-based remedies where there has to be the main focus. The main focus of the remedy must be covered by the main focus of the personality, which is what I call as the deep pattern of the case. And what is the pattern in this man? There is definitely a pattern in this man to be on stage. Why? I need to understand. And now he tells me he does not want to be on stage for glamour. He says, I never wanted to be on stage. And I say, oh my God, my Argentum nitricum or Argentum metallicum is not going to work in this case. And I said, so why are you on this stage? And he says, doctor, that's what I told you in the beginning. I come from a lineage of theater personalities. My father is on stage. My sister is on stage. How can I not be on stage? So I said, so what if your father is on stage and your sister is on stage and you are not on stage? What am I doing? I am confronting him. What are his fears? Yeah? We all have fears. We all have certain expectations from life. We all have certain fears in life. And when I asked him, tell me, what if you're not on stage? And he says, doctor, then I'm not part of that ring. I told you, I am not part of that circle. And it's very important for me to be part of the circle. He said, I am actually interested in commercial advertising. I even created my portfolio. And believe me, he was such a good looking man. And I thought he would do very well with commercial advertising as a model. And he said, I am so good at this, but when I told my father that I want to go in for commercial advertising, he said, this is not what we do. This is, you do 10 retakes and takes. That is not acting. That is foolishness. Any Tom, Dick and Harry can do it. People who don't have caliber do this kind of things. Whereas if you're a true actor, you have to be able to do it live. You have to be able to do it on stage. And we are a family of true actors. And he said, from the time my father said that, and he dismissed my desire to do commercial advertising, I knew that I had to do theater. And I so wanted to tell him, Daddy, I don't want to do this, but I couldn't. I completely curbed my voice. That is what he told me. He said, doctor, I curbed my voice. Pune, just log in again, yeah, because the others are getting good sound. So from my side, the sound is good. Yeah. So then coming back to the case, he said, where was I? I said, yeah. And he said, I curbed my voice. Now you see, it is so interesting that the problem he has developed in the last few years is the problem of his voice, where he cannot bring his voice out on stage, or there's pain in his throat. Yeah. And what he did in his family was he curbed his voice to be part of the group. So I have to understand two important things. One is, why did he curb his voice? And second, why is it important to be part of the group? So I said, tell about this, that you want to be part of the group. What is so important? And he says, doctor, the group is something where you all come close. The group is something where you share. My family, I'm telling you, I was a little child. My elder brothers, there's a huge difference. There's a gap of 11 and 14 years between me and my siblings. I was so small and they were older. They would do things with Papa. They would go out with Papa. They would go for his shows. They were always included in everything. And I was always left alone. And so I always feel that if I'm not with them, if I don't try to please them, if I don't try to be good, if I don't try to get into that circle, I will never be part of that family. I always felt this fear, doctor. So I said, okay, so what if you're not part of your family? Now you see that his need to be on stage has nothing to do with performance. His need to be on stage just has to be part of a group or part of a family. Now, then I said, okay, describe this a little, that you need to be part of this family. And he said, if there is no family, then how does one survive? I said, tell me a little bit more about that. How does one survive? And he said, if I don't, if the family is not there, they are in your, वो तुम्हारे सुख दुख में तुम्हारे साथ होते, they are with you in your happiness and pleasure, with you in your sad times. And he said, they are there. If they are there, no one can, कोई तुम पे बुरी नजर नहीं डाल सकता. Nobody can have a bad eye on you. Nobody can look at you with a bad view, or in a meaning that nobody can harm you. Yeah, if you have the group, nobody can harm you. And I thought, oh, look at the way this man is talking. This is, I'm talking way back, yeah, 13 years ago. And I thought, what is this? Yeah, what is this kind of a feeling that this man is projecting to me? Now there are group remedies. When you look at the MAG group of remedies or the Magnesium group of remedies, this is when you look at, for those of you who know chemistry, yeah, and I think all of you do because we are all students of science. In the periodic table has rows and columns, yeah, and the third row of the periodic table, yeah, which has salts, or not salts, which has elements like sodium, magnesium, aluminium, yeah, or phosphorus, sulfur. I'm talking of this third row. When you look at remedies made from this row in the Materia Medica, then you see there is a lot of group feeling. There is a lot of desire for group, desire to be with people, desire to love and care each other. And this is the kind of thing that this man is talking about, that you need a group. Now we know very often that magnesium is given to people who have an orphaned feeling. Yeah, who have a feeling that they don't have a family. And this is the kind of feeling this man has. He said, you know what, doctor, I I said, what happens? Tell me this, that nobody can harm you. He said, when your group is together, they don't harm you, other people. But if you don't have a group, then you are alone. You're alone in this wide world. Any moment you could be attacked. Anything could happen, doctor. And I thought, oh my God, what is this? This doesn't look magnesium-like. This doesn't look, like those kind of elements. What is this fear he has of being attacked if he is not part of a group? Now, this is very typical to animals in nature, and specifically to mammals in nature. In my last few years, it's in this last 6 to 8 years that I'm dealing more and more with animal remedies. This case, of course, is way before that, let me tell you. Yeah. But in the last 6 to 8 years is what I have understood much more about the different animal remedies and how they express as humans in human situations. And I understood that it's the mammals who will often talk of wanting to be part of a group. And if you're not part of a group, then you could be attacked. So, but this is now. In that moment, I'll tell you what I did. I asked him a little bit more. I said, so what if this family leaves you, or if if you're not part of the family, what is this fear? And he says, doctor, I tried it. I don't want to not be part of the family. Is it recording? So shall I continue? Okay. um and he said, doctor, if I tried telling my father, and the feeling I get is that if I don't stand up on stage there, then they are really going to hate me. Doctor, I always have a feeling that my sister is so beautiful, my brother is so handsome, my father is such an enigmatic personality even today, but I am not. I am not part of this, group, and they are so good looking, and I'm not so good looking at all. And I thought to myself, he's so actually a good, handsome looking man, but look at his self-esteem. He feels so low just because he's not part of that group. He said, my father keeps telling me, you are not good looking, you don't do well, your dialogues are not so good, and I feel so low. I don't know what I can do to appease my father, to please him. Please do something, doctor. Can you do? And then he's asking me in the middle of the case, can you do something for my confidence as well, doctor? Can we do something about it? Why do I feel so low? Why do I feel like I am, this person who's trying to please, trying to, yeah, constantly please this family, who is simply disowning me? This is the feeling I get, doctor. They are disowning me. They are, झटक रहे हैं मुझे. This is what he said. They are pushing me away. And you know what I am doing? I do like a dog. I go back to them, wagging my tail. This is the gestures he was making as he was telling me the case. And he says, I go wagging my tail and I'm licking them. And then at that moment he says, really, doctor, I am like the dog of that house. Whatever I do, have you ever seen a dog, doctor? And I asked him, no, I've never seen a dog. I, and believe me, at this time, I didn't have so much, I'm talking of 2002, 2001. I didn't have so much interaction with animals. We've never had a dog in our house. And I said, tell me, what are you saying? And he said, the dog of the house, he licks everybody. He tries to be good to everybody, because he knows that he is going to get his food from them, and he follows his master. And you can beat the dog and you can abuse the dog and you can do whatever to the dog, but he's still going to come wagging his tail and um, um, bringing his tongue out, and he is going to be there to please you. This is the feeling I get with my family, that I'm the dog trying to please them, trying to be part of this family. And always I'm on the edge, doctor, that they shouldn't disown me. And that is why I never say, if my brother says, blue looks bad on you, I stop wearing blue. I want to wear blue. But if my brother says that, I agree with him. That's what I'm telling you, doctor. I'm curbing my voice. I don't have any say in the house, and yet I'm not part of the house. Now, this was what he kept saying again and again and again and again. But these were the main gist. This was the main gist of the case. I'll tell you some rubrics that I took in this boy's case. Not boy, he was a young man. I took pain shifting, yeah, or alternating, yeah, throat pain alternating. Then also speech difficult and speech stammering, yeah. Then I took another symptom which was in the millennium repertory or the complete repertory at that time, complete repertory, hoarseness, motion ameliorates. This was very, very peculiar. Yeah, hoarseness, motion ameliorates. And the reference, I checked who is the reference. The reference is Kent's comparative repertory. So it comes from Kent, this reference. Then I took, of course, forsaken. Then I took delusion, despised he is. So on the physical symptoms, I had the alternating pain, hoarseness, motion ameliorates, speech, stammering difficult. On the mental level, I took delusion, despised he is, because he talks of himself as a dog. Everybody is shooing him away. Everybody is throwing. He's trying to please them, and everybody is throwing him away. And I took also the rubric delusion dirty, because he often kept telling me, I don't look good. I look so weak. I don't fit into that family. I'm so ugly. I don't dress well. There were many things where he feels very low about himself. So I took these rubrics. Now, the remedy that did actually come up in these rubrics was Lac Caninum. Hoarseness, motion ameliorates, and the reference is from Kemp. There's only one rubric, one remedy, and that is Lac Caninum. Now, this is a case where I then looked back, after looking at the repertory and the rubrics, I looked back and I said, but this was exactly what he was telling me. I am the dog of the house. I am wagging my tail. I am trying to please them. And despite of whatever I do, I am not going to get their attention. I want to get their attention. I want to be part of the family, but I don't get it. And I thought, is it just a coincidence that he mentioned I am the dog of the family? Or is it his true pattern that he does feel like Lac Caninum? And I said, only time will tell me. First, I gave him the remedy. I gave it to him in 200. Slowly over the years, I even went to a 1M. But just with 200, the magic that it created in the throat complaints, in the hoarseness of the voice, and the stammering of the speech was brilliant. Within 2 months, he was completely, he still had an episode of laryngitis, but it was totally handled with homeopathy. There were no episodes of antibiotics anymore. The hoarseness began to improve, and he did not experience stammering anymore. I gave him Lac Caninum 200 once a month, every month for I think the first 3 or 4 months. And by the 4th month, I then put him on Lac Caninum 1M. Up till the 4th month, he had physically started to improve. He was also now not looking so old, and he had come back to his own personality. He looked much stronger. He had put on weight. Yeah. He would shave and come, and he looked like he had some zest for life. The reason for me to give a 1M was I wanted much more improvement than just physical improvement. I was, of course, very happy with his physical improvement. After the 1M, in a few months, he didn't come to me because he was so much better. Then he came back to me and he was looking much more stronger. He probably had now started gymming. Yeah. He looked much more confident. And he came and he told me, have you seen the new advertisement of a certain, it was a commercial. And I said, see, I'm not somebody who watches the television so often. What happened? And he said, no, 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 you watch it and then you tell me. So I got a hint. I thought maybe, maybe they must have taken him or it must be something. And I actually, went onto the television. This was the time that there wasn't so much of YouTube and this as well. So I went on, I glued onto the television and I saw he had done such a good commercial. And he said to me, he said, you first watch it and then we'll talk about it. I said, how are you emotionally and all? He said, that commercial will tell you everything, doctor. I've just come to tell you this. I don't even want the medication anymore. After that, I saw the commercial. I saw him looking so radiant in that. I called him back to the clinic. I said, I have to take a follow-up. I want to know what happened. I want to know how much you have improved. I was so excited to see where Lacan had taken him. He came back to the clinic and he said, you know what? I quit. I quit theater. I've got my voice back. I'm not stammering anymore. But I decided quit theater is not for me. It was for the rest of my family, but it is not for me. And I said, oh, and how did your family take it? And he said, they were fine with it. And I said, but you were the one who was telling me that they were not fine with it. And he said, doctor, my perception changed. I told my family, give me a chance. I am going to go into commercial advertising, whatever you say. And he said, my father was resistant initially, but somehow I didn't feel like they will throw me out of the house. I didn't feel like I had to please them so much. So I went on, I did a couple, I got selected, and now I'm full-fledged into advertising, commercial advertising. I'm full-fledged into, making ads and, modeling for various things. And he says, I'm making more money. My family is far more happy. And now they proudly tell everyone that, oh, our lineage is also proliferating and going into different fields. And you know what I understood, doctor? I don't think they were throwing me out. I think I was fearful that they will throw me out. And I was creating that situation where they actually ended up throwing me out. I don't know whether it was the medicine or it was a consultation with you. But I did realize that I had to stand up for myself. So your medicine has given me, what I realized is your medicine has given me the power to stand up for myself. And then he followed up with me for 9 years. Yeah, not really always for a remedy. He then got married. Yeah, his children were with us, and we developed a very good relationship over the years. And he also wanted to read more. So at different points he started asking me, especially the first mineral book. He said, I want to read your book. I want to find out what remedy I am. I told him this is a book on minerals, homeopathy and pattern in minerals. And I said, that it's all about patients' cases. And he said, did you put my case in there? It's such a successful case. And at that time I told him, I didn't know what to tell him. I couldn't put a Lac Caninum case in a mineral book. And then he told me, but I want to read your book. And he read the book. And what at that time, I didn't understand this connection. He told me, doctor, your book makes a lot of sense. And I must be something like this alumina and magnesium personalities. And, I laughed it out then. This is, like years ago, 2004 or 5. It was 1 or 2 years after he was much better and my book was released. And he said, at that, I think I am very much like that magnesium, alumina kind of personality. Have you given me that, doctor? And I said, yeah, keep guessing what I have given you. Years later, 4, so that was in 2004, 4 or 5. And years later in 2009 and 10, when we were understanding the minerals, the animals, as uh, um, understanding the correlationships, yeah, I realized that magnesium has so much in common with Lac Caninum. Now, let me tell you just a little bit of Lac Caninum before we finish. And that is why Lac Caninum, I would say, is a remedy which could be very often needed in your cases in practice, yeah, which have where the situation is that there is a strong need for a group, yeah, because it's a mammal remedy, and we often end up giving only mineral remedies like magnesium phos, natrum phos, magnesium sulf, or pulsatilla, loves group, cries often, wants sympathy, yeah, but we don't think of remedies like Lac Caninum, whereas Lac Caninum as a mammal remedy has a very strong need for group, and all mammal remedies have a need for the group. In fact, when I read through Kemp's Materia Medica, Kemp's lectures, he compares alumina and Lac Caninum at one point. And the point where he compares them, one is in the throat complaints, but the other is at the mental level. Now, alumina is aluminum hydroxide. Yeah, it's made mainly of aluminum, belongs to the third row. Aluminum is the metal, right? I'm sorry, it's the alkali it's an alkaloid. Yeah, it's neither a metal nor a non-metal. It's an in-between thing. But in the periodic table, aluminum is right next to magnesium. It's the very next one. And Kent describes that Lac Caninum doesn't know whether he has said something or others have said something. He doesn't know whether he says or the group says, which Kent describes is very, very similar to alumina. And this man who read my book says, you must have given me magnesium or alumina. Yeah. And this was so surprising for me when I got all these references. And later, when I started making connections, or when Sachindra and I should say, started making connections between minerals and different animal remedies. So keep in mind that when you have a mineral salt remedy, you could actually be dealing with a mammal remedy. Because in a mammal, they often have a very strong need for a group. So if you have a patient, and this is a very common Indian situation, we love our families, we love our joint families, we love our groups, we love our festivals where we meet in group. And this does not necessarily mean only for Indians. We have prescribed remedies to many people across the globe. But the main important thing is the person must have a strong desire to be part of a group. And in that, very specific to Lac Caninum, is that the person must have a very strong feeling that they want to please the people of the group. They want to get acknowledgement from the people of the group. They want to constantly be appreciated from the people of the group. Yeah, jealousy is a very strong feature of Lac Caninum. Yes, it is a feature of lachesis, but I have definitely seen it in Lac Caninum as well. They are very, very jealous because or envious as well. Because their feeling is that person has it, I don't have it. And if I don't have it, I could be thrown out of the group. Yeah, so keep that in mind that in Lac Caninum, not only is the feeling that you want to be part of the group, but the stronger feeling is you want to keep pleasing. You want to keep doing, yeah, for the group. There is also a feeling of very low self-esteem. Now, when you look at dogs in nature, there is a question, difference between Lac Caninum and Lac Equinum. Yes, I will tell you that. But just before that, let me tell you a little bit about dogs. In nature, dogs are so group-oriented animals. And also, remember this guy was telling me I curb my voice, which is exactly what his chief complaint is, his laryngitis. Now, dogs, there is such a hierarchy in dogs that nobody dares to go against the alpha. Yeah, and they have to, and if you are a submissive one, you simply obey the alpha. In wolves it is the same. Yeah, so what you see, and then that is why dogs could be domesticated, wolves could be domesticated to make the domestic dog Lac Caninum we have today, because the Lac Caninum looks at the master as an alpha and dare not obey him. Dare not disobey him. This is exactly what a Lac Caninum person does. And that is why they look very, very similar to magnesium or aluminum. Now, there was one more thing. Um, just give me a minute. Somebody said Lac Caninum and Equinum. Now you see the horse is very different. When you have, if you have, now imagine when you keep pets in the house as dogs, yeah, they're just in your house. Even in a small house, you can have a dog. You can have a dog as a pet. He will follow you anywhere, everything, yeah. That's the low self-esteem of the dog. Do you have a horse who will follow you like this? No. When you have a horse as a pet, you must be rich to have a horse. You must have the resources, the stable to have a horse. So the horse as a pet is a status symbol. Yeah. And then the horse doesn't follow you. Yes, the horse is loyal because the horse is a mammal. Group feeling is important to the horse. So even in a Lac Equinum case, you will have a group feeling, and it's very important to be part of the group. But in Lac Equinum, it is not important to please. So the difference between Lac Equinum and Lac Caninum, I can tell you, is that in Lac Equinum, there is a lot of ego. Good ego, not bad ego. So they will do things, but they will do things with a high self-esteem. Ego would be a wrong word. High self-esteem. Yeah, the better word is high self-esteem. So they will do to be part of the group. They will give, they will do things, but with high self-esteem. Lac Caninum does it with a low self-esteem. And then just one quick difference I will make with the wolf. Yeah, in wolves, the wolves are still wild. So in Lac Lupinum or in the wolf, there is a lot of aggression. There is a lot of anger. In Lac Caninum, you see suppressed anger. You see cannot say their views. They cannot open their mouth. They might be a little quarrelsome, but in a very small way. Lac Lupinum is a very top of the notch predator. Wolf. So in a wolf case, you will see they want the group, they take care of the group, they protect the group, they fight with anyone if somebody disobeys them. So you see an aggressive dog. Let me put it like this. Slowly over the next few webinars, I'm going to talk much more about different remedies and different situations, Indian situations. This one was a very common one where we all want to be part of the group and we cannot voice our opinion in the group, which is why I'm saying mammal remedies come very, very close in situations where the group is important. Just before I wind up, there was one more thing I wanted to tell you. And that is, it was Kent. Read Kent. And in Kent's lectures, Kent says, we should have proved the mare's milk. See, at Kent's time, Lac Equinum was not proved. He says we should prove the monkey's milk. Today we have remedy from monkey's milk. We have given at least about 10-15 cases of monkey. He says we should prove human milk. He says we should prove cow milk. We should prove all our milks because the milks are the beginning sources of nutrition. And we are all mammals, and therefore milk remedies should be of great help in our materia medica to all of us as humans. And I'm quoting Kent from Kent's lectures in Materia Medica. He said this about 100 years ago, and today we are following on many animal remedies. I'm slowly going to open you more and more to many other animal remedies within the regular situations you see in life. And I hope that it helps you to understand Yeah, and to pick animal remedies in your practice. Lac Caninum and Lycinum. Lycinum is a somebody has written something. No, Lysin is almost like a mad dog, a rabid dog. So what I will do is in one of the sessions, I will try and take up some nosode and Lysin cases. It is slightly different from this. In Lysin, there is suppression and then an outburst like a crazy person. There is still low self-esteem. Remember, Lysin is a mad but a rabid dog. So the self-esteem is not of Lac Lupinum. Lac Lupinum has very, very high self-esteem. Lysin and Lac Caninum have very low self-esteem. Lysin can behave hysterical and mad. Lac Lupinum tries to protect and tries to stand like a king. Okay? Just short differences. So I'm going to end today's session. I hope you have enjoyed it. There will be a lot more tips like this coming, and keep yourself glued. Go get onto the website. We will tell you when the next session is. In 2017 of January, that is next year, we are coming up with a very, very exciting event where we are going to talk about the whole animal remedy map. There's some very exciting speaker who's coming up, who's going to talk about plants. Some of you know about it. I want to keep it a little bit of a surprise. We're going to talk about, we'll send you also information of our 2017 big event. It will all keep coming to all of you through mails and things. So keep watching and keep learning and keep growing. Okay. So thank you everyone and bye-bye.